Tariffs are to bring back balance to our economic balance here in this country. It seems as though that we are using tariffs for a different means nowadays, and it's not to bring back the balance that's necessary for our constitutional balance here in this country. And I'm using balance in a few different terms, but it's about balance. If we are not going to balance our society with what we do with other countries, then how do we move forward? But there's a way to do everything, and sometimes you can do it like the bully on the basketball court or the bully on the playground. Or you can do it like the diplomatic powerhouse that we so portray ourselves to be, that we have not been. I would love to see us do things a little bit more political and a little bit more politically correct than we've done in the very near past. This is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black U.S.A, broadcasting live from a Black perspective. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. I'm about to bring in one of my co-hosts, which is my close friend and confidant, Mr. Claude Foster, who will be discussing these terms, these political moves with us today. I chose the topic today because this seems to be taking on the world by storm. I mean, and the rest of the world is about to, they're definitely going to a point where they want to ignore what's happening here in the United States. And in order for them to do that, I mean, it's got to happen the way it's going with the rest of the world. The country is saying they don't understand what the United States problem is when they go against their closest allies, for instance, Canada. You're tariffing the very things that keep Americans employed. And it also keeps America's prices down to a particular level. But just so you know, there's not, you cannot tariff your way to success. It doesn't work like that. But in America, that's what they're trying to do is tariff our way to success. And we're not going to have it, man. I mean, I don't know what to say as far as America is concerned, but you trying to the strong and bully your way into these tariffs with all these other countries, it's just not going to work the way you anticipated it to work. But with my intro and with my co-host, Mr. Claude Foster, I would like to give him the opportunity to go ahead and say what he got to say. I know why I got an echo is because I'm using an outsourced or an external camera, and it's got a mic on it. So forgive me for my echoing voice today. So without further ado, Mr. Claude Foster, how are you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing fine, my brother.
Good.
We got a little cold weather, but you saw H-Town last night in the Final Four.
Did
you watch the Final Four last night?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I was working on the bathroom, man. I'm doing my thing up here at my daughter's house.
But
So gotta work.
the thing I wanted to talk about was talk about these marches yesterday around the country
Yes, buddy, I saw it.
and the absence of black folks and black leaders at these marches. So what is that? What does that say to you?
Well, it says that the message is out there. It's not our fight. We don't have a dog in this fight. We're not the owners of these big businesses. We don't own major corporations in America. So it really is not money being lost from us. We're gonna suffer to a certain extent, but not the way most of these people will.
But I look at it. Al Sharpton is going after Pepsi now for their lack of diversity, for their eliminating their diversity programs. I look at my own representative talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and I mean, what Trump has done is just open bare this wound we got in America between the original descendants of slavery and the politics today and where we are in this country. And it just seems that we're kind of lost, man. It seems like our leadership is lost. They have no coherent message. Like you said, those rallies wasn't about us. I just saw all white folks out there.
Yeah.
So that tells you who's being impacted.
It's definitely not us, my friend. And because it's not us, it's going to wreak havoc on America because we're not included in it. But that's the biggest problem. We're not included.
Well, let me throw this number at you. Bring it closer to home to Texas, right? We talk about Texas. We talk about state government, but the politicians don't run Texas. The executive directors of all these departments run Texas, right? Let me throw some numbers at you. There are 135 executive directors in Texas. 135. 120 are white men. 2 African American, 2 Latinos, and 6 white women.
It goes
What
to
do
show
those
you.
numbers say to you?
It say that we're insignificant. We don't amount to what's necessary to survive in this country.
But but going back to the we got 2 black senators in the state of Texas, right? I mean, come on, man. I mean, it just seems like we don't know how to fight no more.
Well, not only do we don't know how to fight, but the Democrats don't know how to fight either. So basically, they put Cory Booker up for 25 hours.
What did you think of that?
A waste of damn 25 hours. You doing some shit that was done back in the 1950s and 60s. That this is 2025, 100 years later.
But that show you that show you how weak the Democrats are.
It's weak, man.
In terms of
very weak.
Having a coherent mess. See, because they can't. The white liberals can't talk about too much, bro. They've been using us.
They got the Democrats right where they want them, and the whole country got Democrats right where they want them, because black people coherently think that we should vote Democrat for no reason, and voting Republican would have been for Trump, but maybe that's the reason we didn't vote Republican this time around. But in the future, we got to come up with a plan, man. And the plan ain't voting Democratic anymore. It definitely ain't voting Republican. So the only objective that we should have right now is to create our own party. And we don't have the leadership to do it.
Yeah, because we don't have the leadership, I don't see. Just like in 1972, you probably remember the conference, the Gary Conference, in 1972.
What happened?
When all the black leaders came together in Gary, Indiana, the black advocates, the black politicians, uh, the black leadership came together to come up with a black agenda, a black strategy, and the conference fell apart because the black Democrats, which were very few in 1972, walked out of the conference because they didn't want to derail their efforts within the Democratic Party.
And it hadn't happened since.
Well, no, because man, just like the liberals benefit from our skin in the game, the black liberals benefit too. Not as much as the white liberals, but they're getting their money.
But right now, ain't nobody benefiting from the skin in the game. I mean, there's nothing we could do to change what's happening right now.
Well, there are people making money off of it. Nancy Pelosi got rich. Chuck Schumer got rich.
They all. I mean, who's in Congress that ain't rich?
Stacey Abrams got $2 billion from Biden to do what? I mean, if you had a business, when you had a business, right? And you went to the bank and you told the bank, they said, "Let me see your ledger," and you've only did $100 in business. The bank gonna give you a $2 billion loan?
No, under no circumstance. Not unless you J.D. Vance.
So how does that happen? How does a nonprofit?
It happens because you already know you got the loan before you got to the bank. You're just going through the formalities. You know, we've done it on a micro scale. I mean, let's say let's say when you retire from the Air Force and they wanted to keep you in that office, you know, they're going to have you submit your resume, go through the interview process, and everybody else submit their resume and go through the interview process. But they still know who they're going to select already, and that's you. So we've done it on micro levels. They doing it on macro levels. They doing it with the big boys, with the big dogs. We've also done it on our organizations. We know who we want to be president, so we go around and solicit votes, and we say, "Hey man, I need your support on this."
But in the civil rights movement, we at least had a coherent, collective voice. Where's our coherent collective voice?
You know where it's at. It's non-existent. That's where it's at. And it's like that because we don't have anyone pushing us in one direction. We're pushing in 35 different directions. The only person that's consistent with his direction is Louis Farrakhan right now. Al Sharpton, he is not our leader. So he's a wonderful guy now. I don't want to speak bad about Al Sharpton. He's done his part as a civil rights activist. But that's all he is a civil rights activist. He's not a leader for us. So what do we do in the meantime? We can't find a leader overnight, and we can't build a leader overnight. So somebody got to follow somebody.
But do you see a leader up and coming? I mean, do you?
No.
I mean, do you see a black leader up and coming in San Antonio? I'm in Houston. We got 570-some thousand black folks in the city, within the city limits. I don't see one.
But see, how you gonna find that leader when you don't put people together? If people are never coming together to do anything as a group, as a culture, you're never gonna find a leader for that culture. And like I've said the last several weeks, we've got the infrastructure to do it. We've got all these churches that all they need to do is one thing together. We got all these sororities, we got all these fraternities. All they need to do is one thing together. One thing. And just like they did in 1972, like you were talking about earlier, call all leaders from all the organizations.
Who could make that
to
call
one company.
today? Who could make that call just like they made that call in 72?
Who made it in?
It was, I forget who it was.
We have to just decide that we're going to listen to somebody. I tried this on a level, a very small level, and first thing I got was kickback. We tried that before. Black folks so goddamn negative sometimes. It just pisses me off. I don't care what you try, they're gonna tell you that's not gonna work. And that's what bothers me the most when they are so apathetic with moving forward that they're stuck on stupid and they don't want to do anything to advance our society. No matter how hard your I push or you push or anybody out here pushing to bring stuff together, we run into the opposition that they don't want to bring stuff together. That's the problem. Did they say somebody entered the conference? That's what it sounds like it said.
No, somebody's at the front door.
Okay.
And my daughter is finna go somewhere.
All right. So our first objective in my mind, we can't even get enough people to go to city council meetings. We can't get enough people to go to town hall meetings. We can't get enough people to go to school board meetings. We can't get enough people to do one thing to save our life, other than go to a damn trail ride or a damn concert or somewhere where there's entertainment. Anything that's got structure to do, there's nobody going to participate. I did this intentionally 2 years ago at the Carver Library in San Antonio. Every Saturday from 12 to 4, I was there doing a presentation every hour on the hour to get people to understand who they are. In 4 weeks, the month of February, I had a total of 11 guests in 4 freaking weeks, man.
But we got the NAACP has a youth department, so they're training a lot of youth to be future leaders.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off. How long have they had this youth department?
Since the 1900s, early 1900s.
So how long have they been training youth to take over?
Ever since then.
And where the one at that they done put up there? It ain't one.
Well, let me think.
Cause they full of shit.
Well, Jamal Bryant comes out of the NAACP. He was.
So that's one then. I apologize.
What I'm saying, the Urban League has their youth counterpart.
The Masons got theirs.
Many of the churches have their youth counterparts.
The Boy Scouts, the Black Boy Scouts do.
Right. The fraternities and sororities got their influence on youth.
But all this is great, man. Where's the beef? Ain't no damn beef. Ain't no results. Only thing this is about is moving money from one hand to the other. Because all these kids want is to go to do this here so they can get some money from it. That's the reason they do it. They ain't doing it to go into no politics. They ain't doing it to get no damn where. It's 1 out of every 1,000 that's going to move forward. But it ain't the kids that's the problem. It's us. It's the adults. We're the ones who won't do shit together. We're the ones who fight every damn step of the way. We're the ones who got the opposition against everything. So back to what Trump is doing. He's on point. I give him 100 out of 100. He's on point because what Trump is doing is what's been necessary for 100 years.
He's breaking the bottle open.
He's breaking the damn bottle open. He's tearing this shit down to the core. But see, tariffs ain't the key issue. The key issue is layoffs. Layoffs is what's tearing buttholes in these Americans that have been sitting on there sucking up government money for the last 45 years and ain't doing shit on these damn jobs. You know it and I know it. You got military people coming in there doing all the damn work and you got the civilians sitting in there like they busy as hell and ain't doing shit. I watched this shit for years.
So you think there's a lot of waste?
It's so much damn waste. And then they let the stupidest people control the most money. And those people spend that money on dumb shit. Like, I don't know if you remember the Gamma Goat. Do you ever heard of the Gamma Goat? Gamma Goat is a six-wheel amphibious vehicle that was never been ever used in any combat situation in the world. Never ever used, but they sunk billions of dollars into it. And I was a mechanic on that piece of shit. And I'm still mad about it. Because it was just a worthless damn vehicle that they bought. All the way from development, R&D, research and development, all the way through manufacturing, all the way through test and deployment. And they still bought the damn thing when it didn't work. It broke down. 99 broke down every 1 mile.
Well, what do you think about? What's your thoughts on Trump
Waste.
undoing and restoring a lot of the statues that were brought down during Black Lives Matter?
That's
What is,
why he can
what's
do
your
it because they were only statues, they were never laws. So America never knew to start with. So they do shit to appease people during the particular time that it needs to be done. And then after the time blows over, then it's time to put shit back right.
Well,
Which
you heard what this congressman told these Democrats. They say, if you
what?
don't like the Gulf of America, keep messing with us, and we'll make the District of Columbia the District of America. They ain't playing.
That's crazy though, but that's true,
I
man.
mean, they're not
But
playing.
it is not going to be the Gulf of America. I mean, that really don't say shit. No way. It don't do nothing for nobody to change the name. But laying these people off, the Department of Education, what is the purpose? You help me. You know, I know you were telling me your spouse is a teacher and stuff.
When they're gonna release the letter grades here, I think this week, and that's just gonna further justify.
The Department of Education.
That's gonna further justify. Uh, uh, the fact that the kids are failing despite all that money being spent and sent to the states, that the kids are still failing.
And then not only are they doing it in places all across the country, but then you look at all the different stuff you give these kids. You give them one of the most beautiful facilities that there is to go get educated in. You give them free rides to school, and you give many of them free lunches. You get free
Well,
books.
they still gonna get. I mean, the Department of Agriculture provides the lunch. They still gonna get the free lunches. You just not gonna have that.
Well, my
The
point is,
educational bureaucracy. Remember, they closed down the regional offices in Dallas and some of these other places where you got all these high-paid people doing what?
my point is, what is the point of the Department of Education? What do they do?
It's to oversee all the money that it's well, the original intent,
Who oversees the education of the children?
the states.
But
But at
the
one,
Department of Education ain't got nothing to do with
but
that.
at one point, the states wasn't fulfilling that obligation, especially when it came to black
They
employees.
still not fulfilling it.
Well, that's true. That's true. And the question is, why aren't they?
But then if they turn it all back over to the state, then it's a no-brainer. I mean, the federal government ain't never had a say-so in it to start with.
Well, they
So
still going the state's still gonna get the money. You just won't have the bureaucracy.
they're not gonna get the money because they're going to voucher systems. The school gonna get the money. They're gonna go direct to the school.
But what I'm
The
saying,
state ain't gonna be able to disseminate no money. It's
but what I'm
gonna
saying,
be back to school.
the federal government is still gonna allocate X amount of dollars to the various states. But they're not. But it's not gonna be through the Department of Education. It's gonna be direct grants to the states.
And those direct grants go where the state want them to go, right?
Yeah, in essence, same
So,
thing.
and the states are not, there's no black state, basically.
No,
All white states.
it's like doing away
Like we were
with
saying last week, 87% of the education system is governed by white folks.
It's probably higher than that.
It probably is. So when it comes to education, the Department of Education cut it in half. Ain't nobody lost a beat no damn where. They already done that. Other departments cut in half.
Well,
No major issues.
I'm back to our discussion last week. So, do you think going back to our Moor roots would solve this dilemma?
Which dilemma?
The dilemma that black folks face themselves in, that that our
The only way we get out of this thing,
that our
man.
plight is based on. Well, actually, it doesn't matter who's in office, does it? I mean, when
Doesn't matter. Not with black
Democrats
folks.
have been in office, and how did we fare? Have we fared any? I mean,
We haven't fared no better. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in office. We're gonna fare the same. We're gonna fare the same until we represent ourselves, and
So
we won't represent ourselves.
what would be your vision of ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves? What should we look like in America? Maybe that needs to be the question.
Only thing we should look like is identified. If you cannot identify as a doc, you are not part of the culture.
But what should Black Americans? What
Where do we
should be?
start?
I mean, obviously, if you look at Black America today versus Black America in 1600s, when slavery was introduced into the colonies, it's different today than it was in 1600s. If you look
I can tell you why we're still stuck on stupid. Because right now, you and I both know the secret to moving forward in life, and there's two things. One, everything you own need to be in a trust right now. Because if you die and you only got a will, then it's going to get probated in court. That's an absolute fact.
Exactly.
So if you don't have a trust, you just screwed your family of long term legacy with your assets. So two, you don't have a nationality. So that makes you not have a culture.
Well, now, ADOS. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with that organization.
I'm not.
It classifies an American descendant of slavery as any person that have had on their birth certificate colored, Negro, Black, or African American, because no other
That's impossible.
Well, no other group has been similarly named.
That's impossible. Everybody other than white people have been called colored. According to William Pleckler on the American Immigration Act, he put it in writing. You either white or you colored.
But no other group in America have been so identified on the birth certificate. No other group in America has been called
they
colored.
have.
Who?
They have.
Who?
Indians, Asians,
On their birth certificate,
Japanese, they all have been called colored.
no, on their official
On their birth certificate.
I-
On their
I-
official birth certificate.
I
They are. I mean, you don't know that because I don't know it either, because I haven't seen it. But according to the American Immigration Act in 1924, there are only two races, and
I get what you're
white
saying.
and color.
I get what you're saying.
So how can you say these are the only people that are identified as
I'm
descendants of
saying that
slavery?
on your American birth certificate, if you are identified in terms of
Those other words, yeah, I can agree with that.
in terms of American descendant of a slave, through our transition from slavery in the 1600s to freedom in the 1800s to emancipation to freedom in the 60s
In the 1900s.
to now. You can trace your ancestry based on the census. And if you were identified as colored, Negro, Black, African American, you are more than likely to be
How
an
do you
American
get-
descendant of slavery.
You can't stand them because there's no way you can prove that that's because the person has color on their birth certificate that they're a descendant of slave. You
But what
can't
else? What
because
other? What
it
other?
negates it when he wrote that
But what?
American Immigration Act.
But what other group on there? I don't know about. I haven't seen a Native American birth certificate. I haven't seen any other group birth certificate.
Well, that's a job for me. I'm
African
gonna
Americans are the
try to
only
look it
group that
up.
I know. I can't see them. I can't see
I
them
haven't
as
seen it
Native
either.
Americans as colored and putting us as colored on an American birth certificate.
Can you see? Can you see the law?
No, I'm just saying. I can't
I'm
see
asking.
America.
Can you see the law?
I'm
Can you
just
see the law being black, being either a white or color? Can you see that law?
no, brother. But what I'm saying, though, brother, I'm talking about in terms of determining who is a. Let's take reparations for example.
You take colored out, then we got an argument now.
No, but you got some descendants of slavery that was
That were called
identified as
colored.
colored,
Yeah, you're right.
They're on
Yeah,
the
there
birth
are.
certificate.
Now, I agree.
and then you got some that was black, depending on the time.
Some
And then you got
African
some
American,
Negro,
some Negro,
black,
those
African American. So you can trace those names, those
But
designations.
but for everyone that's called color, you have to verify. You have to confirm because you cannot take a colored name on a birth certificate and take it absolute.
So you don't think a colored name on a birth certificate can trace you back to a descendant of slavery?
And you can't now. If you could, if they didn't do that American Integration Act in 1924.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
If William Plecker, let's look up Plecker while we talk. Plecker, he did the Immigration Act, which eliminated all races because what was happening is white people were identifying themselves as Indian, so they didn't have to pay taxes.
Let me look
And,
at
and
plaque.
hundreds of thousands of people did that. White people identified themselves as Indian to avoid paying taxes. So Plecker objective was to get these people back online. And he said that if we go back and find that you're identified as Indian when you're white, then you're going to owe back taxes to the United States.
How you spell placard?
Plecker. I think his first name, William Plecker, 1924. But we cannot use the word color as a distinct identifier for descendants of Africans. And how do you think we got to 6 million Africans in America being released from slavery? Because of the word color. When they counted 6 million in the census, that was counting Asians, Japanese, Indians, black, everybody. That's how they got to 6 million. It was a bunch of malarkey, man. It was not correct. As far as us being identified as a native, as a species, we're gonna have to do something for ourselves. And like you said, to be a chosen leader. And the only way I think you hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned, the only way we're gonna get to being having a chosen leader is have a chosen conference with all leaders. If you're in a leadership position, you're invited to this country. If you own a company, you're invited to this conference. We should have that conference in Houston, Texas.
Well, it would be a lot bigger today than it was in 1972 because you got more.
Yeah.
You got
But-
more black political elected officials. You got more.
I ain't want them. Them the worst ones. I want people that are in leadership. Yeah, they got to be there, but I doubt if they'll be the ones coming out on top at the end of that conference. Because they ain't done shit so far. They ain't gonna do shit after that.
But can
So
you have?
they'll come there to run interference on picking the right person,
Right.
and that's what we don't want. We don't want them running that
I
interference.
see. Okay, Plecker. He was a part of that eugenics movement.
Yeah, he only. That's the only problem with Plecker. But other than that, it won't be that hard for us. All right. So as far as layoffs start, we've managed to make it through a few big levels of layoffs. There's been, let's say, one or two black people that's been at the senior levels got laid off, but out of every one black person getting laid off, we losing what 150, 200 white folks. I mean, or 500, up to 500 white folks per one black. Just like it's only one black for 500 VA employees. Hey, we're just balancing the load, man. That's all we're doing. We're balancing the load. So when we come to tariffs, 25% tariffs on these countries, all these damn countries he had on this little chart he had on TV the other day, right? Only thing he's doing is alienating America more. Because we don't, these little countries don't give a damn about the tariff. We can ship our shit somewhere else. We don't have to ship it to America. You're not the only one buying our shit. You know, Mexico's already trying to find other markets to build cars for. Canada refused to buy American product. And if anybody want to buy American product, they fighting with them. They don't like it. They don't want people buying American product anymore. Because America done burnt the damn bridge with Canada. The same with Mexico. How you gonna burn the bridge with your damn closest neighbors? You gotta live together. It's done. It's done. You know, they kept starting and stopping. These damn tariffs and these other countries saying, hey, to hell with that shit, I'm just gonna impose tariffs on them. And we're not gonna start and stop. We're just gonna impose it. And it's there. So right now, America got to pay tariffs. So the bottom line is, the rich man up here, he's getting richer. But these people down here are the ones who are going to bear the cost. Look at the egg that we import from Canada and Mexico.
Why did the Democrats vote against, now this is what I understand.
Vote for the budget?
No, vote against eliminating the tax on tips.
They voted for it?
Against it.
They voted against. They wanted to keep taxing tips. Because the Democrats ain't no damn better than the Republicans. And I don't get surprised when they do dumb shit like that. Because
I think the Republicans Trump wanted to eliminate the tax on tips.
I wouldn't doubt it. He got some ideas and what he's doing will work if everything has, you know how you can make something work if everything is at the right proportion.
Well, let me ask you a question.
It'll work.
And maybe somebody in the audience can why hadn't Elon and his organization gone after the Pentagon, who hadn't been audited in 7 years?
That's the thing. They were audited, but they ain't never passed the audit.
They never passed an audit.
In the history of the Pentagon.
and they got a $900 billion.
It's a trillion. It's almost $1 trillion.
Almost $1 trillion.
That's next. Because the big manufacturers, Boeing, Martin Marietta, who else? Bill Manufacturing. And it's quite a few other ones out there that are major builders of military equipment. They're the only ones. There's only probably 10 major companies building military equipment. And every last one of them are quadrillionaire companies.
Yeah, just like the company. I mean, most of Alabama's manufacturing is building bullets and stuff.
They're the brass capital of the country, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alabama, the tariff, nobody but us. Anybody that don't own a company, that don't own the manufacturing business, we're the ones who will suffer from tariffs.
But don't you find it ironic that companies those kind of companies that are dangerous weapons manufacturers are located primarily in the South?
Well, I don't think it's dangerous. I just think it's just the way it was designed in order to keep people working. You know, it was the North had already established themselves as steel producers, major end item producers like cars.
Who makes the tanks? What company? I mean, we make so much. Who makes the tanks?
Pratt something.
Pratt
I
and
don't
Whitney.
remember. Pratt and Whitney, something
They
like
make
that.
the tanks.
They are that's one company, but it's a lot of different components to the tank.
Well,
You
it got to
got
be assembled somewhere.
yeah. I don't know where.
Yeah.
I don't know. Most of those places they don't keep those in the public eye.
I knew
They
you
don't want
know.
everybody to know where you're making tanks at. Or even airplanes. They know Boeing make the airplanes, but they don't know where they making the airplanes at. That military airplanes, the F-16s, the F-17s. They
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, they keep Area 51 for testing in Arizona and all that kind of stuff. But as far as us suffering, who wants to pay $9, $10 for a dozen eggs? Nobody.
Well, you know.
But we paying $9, $10 for a dozen eggs. But the people that charging you $9, $10 for a dozen eggs ain't losing no money because they're getting it back from you. Everything that they had to pay for tariffs, they're getting it all from you.
Well,
And then you're not making any money because your salaries are not raising at the level of the inflation in this country.
since dollar stores are in our communities overwhelmingly, are the tariffs going to impact the prices in the dollar stores?
Why
and
you
Dollar
think
General?
why you think Dollar Tree went up to $1.25? Everything was supposed to be $1.
But that was before the tariffs.
Yeah, but they saw it coming just like coffee right now. Everything once they announced tariffs, like the day he announced tariffs, everything went up 25%. No matter what. It may not have an effect for another 3 years on certain items in the store. But price already gone up. So the people gonna make their money just like gas prices. Our gas prices is $2.50 today, and tomorrow is $3.05 because of the tariffs. Because people are gouging the profit, and nobody wants to say, "Oh, is that what they're doing?" Everybody want to act like they're stupid, and that's not what they're doing.
So, what should be the black community's position on tariffs?
There's no position for us on tariffs rather than us. We just
I mean,
continue to survive the way
Should we
we
be for
have,
tariffs or
and
should we be against tariffs?
we should be for it. I say we should be for it, and I say we should be for it because the country has to understand that we're not dependent on them to survive anymore. That's why you see us now going back to the wilderness, buying chickens, getting our own eggs, buying hogs, going hog hunting, getting deer meat, doing all these different things that we never done before. We did it before. We haven't done it in years. We're going back to the basics, and that's how we're going to survive. But see, most people ain't got a clue how the basic works. Did you grow up with hogs in your backyard? I did.
Not in the backyard.
Chickens
We
too?
was in the city limits. So
Shit, we was in the city limits, and we had hogs in a little ass backyard. A little backyard. We had a hog pen where they could walk the length of the house in the backyard. And we killed that hog right there in that backyard, in the city limits, and lay that hog in the kitchen floor.
Now we had a place called Laney's Barbecue, which was located in the neighborhood. They kill hogs and sold barbecue.
We kill hogs in the backyard anywhere in the city.
But you don't see
You don't see that now.
But you don't see the black. I mean, we do have a black middle class. It's small, but we do have a black middle
Why
class.
you keep thinking that there's a black middle class that make any difference? They don't make a difference about shit. Who are the black middle class? They ain't no damn body. Who are the black middle class? What do they stand for? What do they do? Not a damn thing other than suck up money from the government just like they've been doing, and now they're getting laid off. That's the black middle class.
Yeah.
And most of them got black middle class because of getting into these government jobs. So right now, I commend him for laying all these damn people off, shutting down this damn this shit that they're doing in the government, spending all this money. But the problem with all this that they're doing, all the money that's not being spent out now, where the hell is it going? Where is it going? It's going in the upgrade Trump building to where he got to get new security forces in his Tower 1. because he's not going to. He's not part of the. He's not part of the. What you call it? The White House. He's building his own building as a government establishment. He's taking government taxpayers' money to improve the security, to put bulletproof glass in his building, and before you know it, he's going to be doing his own plane as Air Force One, not the government's plane as Air Force One. That plane is no longer going to be used. Right now, I guarantee you, Trump is building his own plane as Air Force One. I guarantee you. And that's a $25 billion process. He's spending all that money on Trump. So when he walks out, he's set for the next 500 years.
Now I will agree. I mean, Elon Musk was talking about. Elon Musk was talking about, these big filing centers in Colorado in the mountains, where they still filing stuff, putting them in a filing cabinet. And
Yeah.
in this day and technology, that's how we still.
Well, yeah, we still should do it that way. The VA has 3. And
Why should we continue to do it that way?
redundancy. You have redundancy, so your shit and my shit never get lost. In other words, we still file stuff.
So you're saying that having your records on paper filed away in some cave somewhere.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. But you also should have your records on digital. It should be digital. But you can't protect digital like you can protect paper. You can't. So if you put it on digital, put all your information on digital, then be ready for it to get breached. That's what it boils down to. They just built this $1 trillion media center in Utah, and outside of I forget, not Ogden, Utah, but Clearview City or something like that. Clear City. Park might be Parkway, but they built this center where all they do now is screen telephone calls, billions of telephone calls a day. That's what they do. That's what the Americans do. And Trump just fired, based on the director of the FBI's comments, the director of that center.
Why?
The general. You have to be a 4-star general to run the center. And he just fired because the lady recommended that he let her go. And he said he didn't let her go.
FBI director?
Yeah. I wrote her name down somewhere. National Security Agency, NSA. General Hancock, that's his name. It was General Hancock.
Why did they was he a minority or something?
White boy.
Why did they let him go?
I have no idea. And nobody has an idea. Do you know that that Medicare and Medicaid is going into a point system where you have to qualify now, and to a certain level, it ain't about your age. And that I just learned this, that police and fire departments do not pay into Medicare and Medicaid. They get their own. They got their own systems. I didn't know that.
Just like educators don't pay into Social Security.
Oh, they don't. And then they threatening to bring the Social Security down. So tariffs is a big thing. Layoffs is a great thing. And now we're back to deportation, and them admitting that they deporting people that should not have been deported. They admitted that, and they gotta go back and get them. How are they gonna go back and get those people?
Well, I thought I know the court had just mentioned one person that they deported that they got to go back and get.
How they gonna get them out of there?
But it was only one.
But they turned them on to another country, and you know, and I know it's more than one. They're
Well,
just telling you about one.
well, I just know the one that the judge said they
That's
had
the
to
only
do.
one I know of. I've trusted in what the U.S. has to say far too damn long. So fuck what they say. I don't believe nothing they say. They tell me one, it's probably 100 to one.
Well, I don't see black folks out there protesting in the street
But
about
they don't need
Tarriffs.
to be. Why would they go out there and protest when it ain't affecting us? We're not gonna get deported. You can't take our so-called citizenship. You can't take it from them.
Sure can't.
It's stuck, and
Well,
that's what they're mad about.
they tried to send us back early on now.
Well,
They
that's
tried to
still
send us
available.
somewhere else. Lincoln wanted to send us somewhere else.
Yeah, it's still available. It says that if you requested through the Department of the Interior that they have an obligation to find you another country to go to. They have to do that. That's the law. And it ain't been changed. So if you want to leave, we can get you up out of here. Get you $100 in your pocket and another country to go live in.
Yeah, but
And then this deportation thing is just a violation of people's rights, because look how they go back and pick up people. They can the what is it, the NES or these people that go around and pick up people. They have the right to just detain you, and before you know it, you're in another country.
yeah.
That's like they did them women. They do a lot of women out of New York. They end up in the container going to another country to be sold into the black market. You know, it's a sad process, but this is what we have to do.
There's a lot of human trafficking.
Yeah. It's 185 countries. There's 185 countries affected by these tariffs. And out of the 185 countries, they're looking for other sources than to deal with the U.S. Nobody wants to deal with a tyrant. Nobody, because by virtue of him doing what he does with the tariffs and the deportation, people avoid Donald Trump. Nobody wants to deal with him.
Well, I got to dig more into tariffs. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for Black America.
Well, it cannot be good for us when it only amounts to us paying more at the grocery store, or at the gas pump, or at the clothing store, or because we're the consumer.
But
We
bringing
are.
more jobs back to America increase black employment.
Where you gonna get a job at? What's the first thing gonna happen there? You're gonna be taking white folks' jobs, and that's not gonna happen. So who's gonna get jobs? The damn sure ain't gonna be black people. The only thing we can do is create our own shit and stop depending on white folks to save us, because they're not gonna damn save us. They're gonna do everything to not save us, or to make us worse off than what we are, to make us more dependent on this country than anything else. You know, it's a sad process, but that's exactly what we're up against right now. If we can't come together, we'll never get together.
Now, I don't know who civil rights leaders say Black Americans, and of course we got to include others, and marginalized communities will be impacted the most by tariffs.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they say that though?
That's what civil rights leaders say.
I mean, they say what the white man want them to say. So what civil rights leader gonna say something about that black people want to hear? Not one.
While Trump and his administration are adamant the tariffs will protect American industries, economists and civil rights leaders say Black Americans and marginalized communities will be impacted the most. For Black and brown people who spend the most as a percentage of wealth, the impact is going to be severe.
I agree. We just said we've agreed to that the prices are going to go up for us. We're going to have to pay for it, and we can't do depending on them to change what these tariffs are going to do for us or against us. We have to be self-reliant on ourselves. That is the only reason we cannot do anything with these tariffs. They can only be beneficial for us. They can make us focus on ourselves more. That's all they're doing. We are so dependent on the white man providing grapes, providing lemons, providing potatoes, providing steaks, chicken, pork chops. We're so dependent on the white man putting all this stuff in the grocery store that we ain't got enough sense to raise a hog no more. We ain't got enough sense to kill a squirrel and cook it for dinner.
But don't you think tariffs will slow down our consumerism? You know, we probably.
Hell yeah.
Don't you think that black people? I mean, we just buy beyond our means. We just.
That's the benefit, ain't it? That's the benefit.
That's the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
If we slow down our because
we don't need that many eggs.
Our consumerism is based on wanting to be equal, trying to make ourselves equal. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the fancy purses, the fancy cars, you got school teachers driving Mercedes and buying $4,000 and $5,000 purses on a $60,000 a year salary or $40-some thousand a year salary.
That's right. They want them damn purses, don't they?
Because they want to be equal.
And the purse, that has no significance whatsoever.
But you got to remember, this is America. Your worth is based on your assets.
Yeah.
The more you have, the more worth you have. And black people, for so long, have had so much of our worth taken away from us. In fact, all of our. But we survived. You bring up the map all the time of all those black towns.
Mm-hmm.
We survived.
Despite. Yeah.
But all those black towns got taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Got destroyed.
So where would they deport black people to?
We got a whole continent we can go back to.
Well, that's not our continent. That's not our home.
Well, American descendants of slaves were brought here.
Not all of us.
No, most of us were born here now.
Not all of us was brought here either. Some of us are original people.
But do you think they make that distinction?
Well, why would they? Because if they did, that means that they're going to lose something because they didn't own the land. They never admitted it.
Well, that ain't never stopped Europeans from conquering others, not owning the land. Look what they did in Australia. You talk about taking the land.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the people being already there.
Mm-hmm.
Them indigenous people, the Aborigines, them black folks.
Yeah, look how they keep the Aborigines.
Yeah.
Out in the outback. Naked and afraid. That's the original Naked and Afraid.
So how did they travel all that distance and go over there and take that land from them people?
Same way Britain went over there and started messing with them Zulus and got their butt kicked. They got toe up and shit.
They had the gun, right?
Yeah, they had the gun. Yeah, I think that's been the power right there. The gun.
The gun.
But the gun ain't the most powerful thing right now.
Because the Africans that were already here in America, that they classified as Indians,
mm-hmm.
They didn't need no guns.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean? Where are you going with that?
Well, they didn't need no. Did they need guns to survive? They didn't need no.
The ones that were here?
Yeah.
Well, they already had established their hierarchy and how they were going.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, but they didn't need no guns to kill each other.
No, they didn't need guns. The Europeans introduced guns to the black people here, and they came in smoking them guns, so they killed everybody. They killed people, and they killed stupid people.
See, because when you see real Native Americans, they look black, not like the portrayal.
Of course they look black. Yeah, they are black. So we went over three things that's very important today: layoffs, tariffs, and deportations in black. So I mean, we're right at our time. So I would like to you, Claude, to just look at those three topics and lay out what's your belief of how they affect us, how they don't affect us, or how they benefit us. What do you
What
think?
what are the three again?
Layoffs, tariffs, and deportation. Because those three things are what President Donald Trump is executing right now. And just before you get started, I'll tell you, on layoffs, I mean, he's batting 100, man. He's the key player. He's a superstar in my mind because the government's too damn big. It's too big. It doesn't pay attention to the people it's supposed to be paying attention to. The tariffs, he doesn't know what he's doing. I think by him going into the tariff situation, it's going to cause more problem for the U.S. And deportation. I'm not saying nobody can need to be here, but hey, you sending them out of here, go right ahead. I ain't got no problem with your deportation because you damn sure ain't gonna deport me.
Well,
So that's where I'm at.
well, what I would say, whether it's layoffs, tariffs, or deportation,
Mm.
this is my mindset. Whenever America catches a cold, we catch the flu. So, obviously, layoffs, imp, it's going to, we're the last hired, so any firings are going to affect us in so many ways because we've had less time to accumulate wealth, less time to build wealth, less time to be secure in our jobs. So we're in a position because of that inequality to be severely impacted. Tariffs, again, if our income, if we're below every other socioeconomic group in this country, tariffs going to have a major impact on us just because of our position in this country. And deportation, I don't have a problem with it. I think that I tend to agree with the feelings of the folks in Chicago and other places where immigration has really, they saw immigration as an intrusion. They saw immigrants being given opportunities and benefits that the American descendants of slaves still have yet to enjoy. Any form of redress in terms of monetary. I mean, black folks have never been given what immigrants were given in these cities. So that's my take on all three of those. That given our position and our standing in this country, whenever somebody catches a cold, we gonna catch the flu. Yeah, white folks may be hurt by the tariffs, layoffs, and deportations, but they just gonna catch a cold. They can survive. We gonna catch the flu. We gonna pay a heavier price for these policies than any other group. And so that's what I would say about what the Trump administration is doing. I don't think it doesn't take into account. Let's take the government workers. I guarantee you, if once you get out of the realm of some of these, like the U.S.A.I.D., which seem to be mostly white, but you start hiring, because what I think the Biden administration did to pad the unemployment numbers, I think they did a lot of hiring, government hiring, and I think that padded the unemployment numbers. Because I think that's how they manipulate. That's why so many of those employees were temporary employees. I mean, so many of them was still in the probationary phase.
Mhm.
because I think they played politics with those people.
And messed up the system worse.
I think they played politics with those people to convince us that they was putting a dent on
On
in terms of
unemployment.
unemployment. And again, we're used like we're used,
Still being used.
still being used. So I would like to see a coherent policy from our political leaders to address these three issues. What should be our position? I hadn't heard anything from the NAACP. I hadn't heard anything from the Urban League. I hadn't heard anything from the minority leader in the House. We seem to be all over the place. The grassroots people out there, the grassroots black people, they got different positions than the leadership. And I think this manifests itself when you didn't see no black folks out there this weekend in none of these protests.
Right.
That ain't our fight. So that's my take.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Claude. That's been a true analysis of what's happening in America with these three issues: the layoffs, the tariffs, and the deportations. First of all, I commend Cory Booker for standing up for 25 hours and some minutes to do what he was doing with Congress, but it was not effective. It is not how we are going to manifest change here in America. The only way we can manifest this change is to assemble our leaders. Assemble our leaders. I mean, we could start with the local city, all the people that own businesses, all the people that are potential ballers or shot callers can come together in one place for one weekend and hold a leadership workshop. And out of that leadership workshop, you develop a board of leadership. And then for this city, the board of leadership in the black community consists of these people, not the NAACP or not anybody else, because those other organizations don't necessarily represent us. We need a board of leaders that represent the people. And in order for them to represent the people, they got to come from the people, and they can't be in this chain of events where everybody's succession, waiting for their position to be the leader, and they don't know what the fuck to do. Excuse my language. I'm sorry for that. But they go into these positions, and then they sit there for the next 12 months or 24 months, and they don't get a dang thing done. That's why we suffer. And that's why our organizations ain't about shit these days, because everybody's waiting on their turn to be the leader to not do anything. And the last 10 leaders ain't done shit. So stop this stupid bureaucracy that we do to ourselves. We do it to ourselves because a lot of us are too damn selfish. We gotta let go of this selfish thought process that it's my turn next, even though you ain't about shit and you ain't gonna do shit, but it's your turn next. It's a damn shame. That is how we're gonna have to change our trajectory. We definitely can't do nothing about the layoffs. We can only be prepared when they come our way. And the only way you're gonna be prepared is to stop getting ready. And you can't keep living on this level of survival off the white man's shit in America when you can't survive on your own without using the white man's shit. You can't survive without going to Walmart. You can't survive without going to the Kroger's or HEB or Aldi's or some of these are their chains, without going to Home Depot or Lowe's. These are their chains. Nordstrom's, the mall, all these different places that you don't own a pot to piss in, but you go spend your money there all the damn time. Stop spending in these places. You can't get control of your life. You can't get control of your community or your society. Study putting your money outside like that. you gotta look at what's happening with the tariffs as well. That means you're going to be spending more for every damn thing. That means you're going to be able to you can't afford but less than what you have been able to afford, which you could have survived off less because you're going to start and throw away half the shit that you buy. You don't consume. You buy all this food and you throw away half of the food all the time. All the time. You buy shit, you stick it in the freezer, then you throw it away because it's freezer burning. Deportations, like Mr. Claude said, is not a big deal for us because we are the original Americans. Whether released from slavery or not, we're the original Americans. We're the ones who own the land, but they'll never admit that. So deportations is not going to affect us as much as it will other cultures. And they're the ones who have to be worried. Like right now, we got people that have been missent to other countries and they're trying, the U.S. and admitted to it. And now they got to bring them back. So with the layoffs, the tariffs, and deportations, I only think that we got to look inward. We cannot continue to expect the white man to save us. He's put us through all this bullshit. Why would he save us now? Don't be stupid. Thank you for listening to the Black News Network. Hey, a little facetious and beside myself today, so forgive me for all of that. I apologize to y'all. I don't mean no harm. So tell me what you think. Thank you for listening to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting live every Sunday at 3:30 on YouTube and Facebook. And I want to give Mr. Claude the last word, and we'll be out.
Continue to speak truth to power, my brothers. Our show continues to speak truth.